No matter what type of call we go on, our adrenaline can spike and we can be asked to perform at our highest level in the worst moment. There's nothing truer than this when it comes to responding to a house fire within our valley. Seeing the column of smoke as we drive to the dispatch address gets our heart pounding, our mind racing, and our stomach in knots. I can tell you after responding to several house fire calls, this feeling never fully goes away, but it's something that we can use to help us prepare for what we're about to see and what we are about to do. When we are given a blueprint or a playbook on what is expected of us when we are assigned a task, it allows us to take these feelings and channel them into those tasks. What is the playbook, you ask? Before we get to that, let's do some housekeeping. My name is Adam Smith, and I'm the Assistant Fire Chief for Fire Training in the Wyoming Valley Fire District and have been for the last 5 years. I also work for Clark County Fire Department located in Las Vegas, which serves the unincorporated areas of Las Vegas, including the Strip. I have worked professionally for 8 years and have been a volunteer for 15 years. I have responded to well over 10,000 calls to my service in my short time within the fire service, including hundreds of house fires and fire calls and thousands of EMS calls. What do I tell you this for? Rapport. I want you to know that I'm telling you this isn't just from a textbook. It comes from my personal experience and the experience of those whom I have had the opportunity to work with over my career. I want you to succeed in knowing what to do when it comes to fighting a house fire and will do all in my power to make it happen. With all that being said, I bet you're wondering when we're going to get to this magical playbook that will help us channel our emotions and help us fight the fire more effectively. Well, we're almost ready for it, but first let's cover the outline of our playbook. Here's the outline for our house fire playbook. We'll begin by discussing what you need to consider on arrival on scene, what your priorities should be, the key messages you deliver once you arrive, and how you position your apparatus. We'll then cover tactical decisions such as is this an offensive or defensive operation. Finally, we'll dive into specific assignments that can be made such as fire attack, search, rapid intervention, also known as RIT, water supply and overhaul or salvage, and what each of them entails. We have a lot of information to cover, so let's open the first page of our residential fire playbook. When the first unit arrives on scene, there are several factors and situations that they could be presented with or consider. Are there victims in the home or are they all outside? Are there any exposures? Is there problems with getting access to the property or home? Do I have enough units or people coming? All these potential situations can create a lot of stress on this first unit, but before we begin to address any of those, we must get a message out and establish a presence to begin to set in motion the tone of the fire call. Before we get to that message, I want to remind everyone of one important detail: life safety. Life safety is our top priority on every call. Starting with ours and then our victim's safety is the order we must follow to prevent further life threat to the situation. There's one exception to this order, and that is when there's a known savable life. Let's go over risk analysis before we get into the first communication. This is a simple representation of risk analysis that every firefighter, engineer, and officer must perform when they arrive on scene of any call. We are in the business of saving lives, and that should be our main focus. However, we must be objective when it comes time to make this choice. If the victim was last seen in the bedroom and that room has fire blowing out of the window when we arrive on scene, we should not go diving into this room to save this victim, as the probability of them surviving in that atmosphere is small, and we should not be risking our lives until the atmosphere allows us to enter the room. As I said before, we are in the business of saving lives, but most times the life threat in the building that is on fire is introduced by us. So we must weigh the risk versus reward, because at the end of the day, we want everyone that responds to the call to go home. As you can see from the rest of the slide, we risk a little to save property, and we risk nothing to save lives that are already lost. Now that we understand risk analysis a bit better, let's get back to the task on hand on what the first unit should be doing once they arrive on scene. One of the first things that will need to be accomplished is where to place your unit. This is largely dependent on where your units arrive when they're on scene, but since we're talking about the first unit, we'll start from there. When arriving to a structure fire, the driver operator should do their best to get the officer what is called a three-sided view. This means as they approach the structure, if possible, the driver should pull past the front of the structure so the officer can see the side you approach from, the front or rear of the structure, and the far opposite side from the approach side. This will help that officer determine best access and the best strategy to operate in. As each subsequent unit arrives, they will also have to position based on where the first unit placed themselves and what assignments they are given. In general, our engines are our primary unit used in fighting structure fires, so they receive the highest priority on parking around the structure. Tenders can also be used offensively, but mostly they are used in a nurse tender operation where they supply another suppression unit with water. Rescue squads and brush trucks are used mostly as support vehicles and should be placed out of the way and not block any points of ingress or egress or positions that would be more advantageous for engines or tenders. They should also not park in places that would put them in risk of being hit by motorists if the call is near a major thoroughfare. Support units can also be used to assist in shutting down roads if needed to create a barrier of protection for the crew, but law enforcement should be the primary way that traffic is blocked if there's a need. Again, if we cannot get assistance from our law enforcement partners, the fire department units can be utilized to shut down roads if there's a need. So now that the unit's parked, let's work on getting a clear picture of what is communicated to the units arriving on scene. Once we have a good idea of what we have, we need to be able to communicate that to all the other units that are responding so they can get a picture of what you see. This can be accomplished by giving what is called a brief initial report, or BIR for short. The BIR is a short message that should take 10 seconds or less to let all responding units get pertinent information for the response. Information such as the first unit to arrive on scene, what do they see, what are they doing, and establishing command to bring organization and structure to the call. For this training, we will not practice giving a BIR, but I wanted to bring awareness to what it is and the purpose for giving one. A last tidbit on giving a BIR. The last point on the slide asks, what do I need and where will I be? Let me clarify this a little bit. If you're the first unit on scene and the next unit is going to be arriving on scene at the same time or directly after your unit, take the time to give out an assignment to them. If not, make sure to let all the other responding units know whether you are mobile or if you will remain at your unit. This helps clarify what position, so if any unit on scene needs to find you, they know exactly where you are or that you are walking around and will need to use the radio to contact you. Once we have gotten the pertinent information out to all the other units responding, let's move on to the next part by what will help you determine your strategy. In the BIR, an incident commander IC must determine whether crews will operate in the offensive or defensive position. This can be a difficult decision for any IC, whether they are new or experienced, to determine. Here are some general tips on what strategy you could use for a structure fire. Can you operate inside of the structure without putting the crew at unnecessary risk? If so, be aggressive and go put out the fire. If not, perform exterior defensive operations until it's safe to go inside and switch to an offensive strategy when the fire allows. Another important point to consider is if you have enough people to make an interior attack. Within the MVFD, there is an SOP 200.21, 2 in, 2 out, which states that if the decision to enter is made, the entry team shall consist of the officer and a firefighter, 2 in. Firefighter 2 and the engineer shall serve as a standby team outside of the IBLH, 2 out. Firefighter 2 shall be fully turned out with SCBA. The company officer or most senior member acting as officer must perform a thorough risk analysis to determine if entry should be made and follow the SOP to make sure that there are at least 2 in and 2 out. The slide also shows other tips and ideas that an IC could use to make a strategic decision. We have given a BIR, and while doing so, determined our strategy. So now what? With other units coming on scene, they will need to give assignments which have specific tactics and tasks. What are these assignments? Let's go over them. Before we go over them, one caveat to remind you all is that if there is an immediate life hazard, we do not need to follow the 2 in, 2 out SOP. This is a known life hazard inside of the structure that 2 in, 2 out does not apply. We can go in and save the victim. Now let's go over what the assignments are. There are a ton of assignments that can be made to units as they arrive, as is made obvious by this slide. The assignments at the first arriving unit are driven by the needs of the fire. Remember that we want to put the fire in a box and keep it in that box through the duration of the call. This is accomplished by making the assignments needed to accomplish this. How do you know what assignments are called for? Well, that's determined by your strategy, the fire, the units responding, the personnel, and the life or property threat. Instead of trying to remember all these assignments, let's break down the most used assignments and the scenarios in which they are used. There are a lot of manufactured homes in our valley. This will be the first page in our playbook of assignments. The most common assignments on these fires are fire attack, search and secondary search, interior, ventilation, RIT, outside, exposure, and rehab. There are some other assignments that can be made, but whether your strategy is offensive or defensive, these are the most typical. We'll go into what each assignment does in detail later in the presentation. The strategy for manufactured homes also applies to single-story ranch-style homes, not just to double and single-wide trailers. So the assignments you see on the screen here can also be applied to any single-story, single-family home that is a ranch-style or custom-built home. There are also several custom-built multi-story homes that we can respond to. Depending again on the strategy declared and other factors, your assignments will vary. These are the most common for these types of incidents. One side note before we move on to the next part of our playbook. You will notice on this incident there are divisions 1, 2, and 3 assignments. This indicates that you have assigned a company the duties and tasks of an entire floor. For an example, if you assigned Engine 74 Division 1, they are now called Division 1 over the radio and throughout the incident unless reassigned. Division 1 is responsible for putting out the fire on the first floor, checking for extension of the fire spread, and performing a live search. An IC could also assign Engine 72 to report to Division 1, but Engine 74 is still in charge of Division 1 and all the tasks that must be accomplished. You can assign as many companies to that first floor division group supervisor, but only that officer would be the one to talk on the radio to the IC. This is one reason many incident commanders will split multi-story buildings into a division. In this way, they don't have officers from fire attack and search from several different companies attempting to give them updates on the radio from multiple floors. It would only be the officers that are assigned as Division 1 and Division 2 that would provide these updates. So with those assignments made, let's go to the next page of our residential fire playbook. When giving out assignments, they should be accompanied by what is called a TLO. TLO stands for Task, Location, and Objective. There's much debate about whether a TLO is needed for crews to perform. I would recommend that you use them as needed based on your experience. So before we join this long heated debate to TLO or not to TLO, let's clarify what a TLO actually is. Here are two examples of what a TLO could be. They could be much longer or shorter depending on the IC. The idea of the TLO is to give some direction to the officer on what you want accomplished as the IC. Since the IC, you are delegating assignments and cannot see the inside of the structure, giving clear and concise direction to your officers can be extremely helpful. Giving a TLO is not a requirement on fires. It is a tool that the IC can use to assist them. Now you too can join the debate on whether or not a TLO is needed, but for now, we'll get ready to dive deeper in our playbook. Before we get into that playbook, to clarify more on a TLO is something that has always been done on the fire ground. All that happened throughout time is that blue card, which is one way of performing fireground operations, basically named what we have always done, which is give our units a task to do, where we want that task accomplished, and what the overall objective of that task is. So that's all the difference is between what we've always done and now is that we've just given that idea a name, which is called the TLO. Again, there's a heated debate on whether or not TLOs are necessary. My recommendation is if you need to get your information across to those units, you should be as descriptive as possible on what you want done and what the overall objective is. Let's move on to the next page. With great power comes great responsibility, and your responsibility as the first in engine is to put out the fire most of the time. So we've covered a lot of what the first unit in or the officer will do on a structure fire, but now we'll focus on what the firefighters on that first engine will do if given the assignment of fire attack. These firefighters are tasked with pulling the correct line for the fire because there's a saying in the fire service, as the first line goes, so does the fire. This means that those first-in firefighters set the pace on how the fire progresses and the overall tone for the entire incident. Choosing the right line for the right situation is a skill that is honed over time, but today we will start with the basics on how we can decide what line we will pull. First thing to remember is to take time to make time. Once you pull a line, you're committed to not only that line, but to that position. Don't just pull a hose because you see a lot of smoke. If you can't see the fire where the smoke is coming from, wait to pull the line until either yourself or someone on your crew can determine the best place to do so to avoid creating extra work for your crew. There are advantages to both sizes of crosslays that we can pull as shown on this slide. Just make sure to take into consideration how many people are on scene, how big the fire is, where your exposures are, and if you have a water supply. These factors can greatly influence how much water you need or how mobile you should be. On the slide where we were determining offensive versus defensive strategies, there was an acronym that spelled ADULTS. This acronym is intended to help firefighters to determine when a larger or a 2.5 line should be pulled, which for the IC will also help determine offensive versus defensive strategies. ADULT stands for Advanced Fire Development, Defensive Operations, Undetermined Fire Location or Extent, Large Uncompartmented Area, Tons of Water is Needed, and Standpipe or Sprinkler Operations. As you can see, the acronym reflects several instances where we would be in a defensive position and pulling a 2.5-inch hose line versus going inside the structure offensively with an 1.75-inch hose line. One point of clarification to undetermined fire location. We only have 200 feet of hose in our pre-connected crosslay beds. The rear beds of 2.5 should have 400 to 500 feet depending on the engine. If you don't know where the fire is and you think you may be further 200 feet away, pulling off the back and either bringing an appliance to attach an 3/4 hose or attaching a nozzle to the end of your line may be to your advantage so you don't come up short on the pull. Making this determination will improve with experience as firefighters develop their own ways of determining hose length, such as counting steps, having a pre-plan, or even using a rope are some ways to do this. But if you're not sure where the fire is or if it's longer than 200 foot stretch, pull off the back and we can extend or operate that line from there if needed. Once you've determined what line to pull, you need to go somewhere with it to put out the fire or at least to start flowing water. Fast water is the best water as we can reset the growth of the fire and buy ourselves and our victims more time. This means if you pull on scene and see fire blowing out a window, flow water into that window to knock the fire down. You do not need to wait until you get inside the structure before you start flowing water. Not every fire is a cookie cutter, break down the front door and put the fire out. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier to take time to make time. If the fire is in the back corner of the home and there's a back door, you could consider pulling the line there before charging in and moving inside. Try to get eyes on where the fire is before putting the hose down. This part requires a large amount of discipline as there will be people on scene and chaos ensues when it's perceived we aren't moving fast enough on the fire ground. Take a breath, take some time, move with the purpose once you've determined where you're going, and get to work once you and your crew get there. The last part I wanted to address with what the firefighters are doing is what to do if you are not on the nozzle. No matter what position you hold on the fire ground, there is work to be done. One that is equally, if not more important than the firefighter who gets to slay the dragon is the firefighter who finds it. The job title for this firefighter is aptly named tools, as they are the one who grabs the irons and the trash hook or pike pole, while their partner of course grabs the nozzle. The tools firefighter also serves as a reconnaissance firefighter, as they are the ones who will get the eyes on the fire and either radio or yell back to their partner how much hose or what hose they think they will need to get the job done. They are also in charge of forcing entry into the structure if needed, checking conditions inside, sweeping, sounding, pulling ceiling, and star fishing to check for victims or soft spot on the floor if there is suspected basement or crawl space on the second floor are also part of what they must do. This firefighter also serves as a pivotal link in the chain when the crew is on the inside with the nozzle firefighter. The nozzle firefighter may have a difficult time communicating with the officer as they are leading the charge. This firefighter is a go-between for information from the nozzle firefighter to anyone behind them, as they have direct communication with both. This position is important to keep the integrity of the crew intact during offensive operations and to assist with pulling extra or other lines with defensive operations. We'll turn the page in our playbook and go back to the assignment from earlier and go in detail to what they are expected to do. As promised, we will now go back in detail of what the expectations are and what each assignment is. I know this seems a bit out of order considering we just covered what firefighters are expected to do, but that was to help set up the framework for this assignment. Fire attack is an assignment that is used when we are in the offensive strategy. The words fire attack imply that you are aggressively and offensively attacking the fire, thus fire attack. Some incident commanders will use it during defensive operations, so don't be caught off guard when it happens, but for this presentation it's primarily for offensive strategies. The tactical expectations for this assignment are what we just covered for the firefighters in the previous slide, which is pull the line to fight the fire, force or gain entry to the structure, find the fire, pull ceiling as indicated, and check for extension. The acronym fire departments use for initial and company operations is SLICERS, which stands for size up, locate the fire, identify and control flow paths, cool the space from a safe location, extinguish, rescue, and salvage. Remember that our priority for every call is life safety. Although our primary focus as fire attack is to find and put out the fire, we should not pass up any victim that we find along the way. This does not mean drop the nozzle, as that is our way to protect ourselves and that victim. But as the nozzle fire continues to cool the space that the crew and the victim are in, they can remain with the victim until another crew arrives to remove them, or if get them next to an egress point, and they can quickly remove the victim and then return to fighting the fire. If you're near a door or a window or something you can quickly remove the victim, feel free to do so. Because again, our priority is life safety. If it is not somewhere where you can quickly remove the victim, again, continue cooling the space that you're in, move the victim to a location that has an egress location, somewhere next to a door or a window, radio to the incident commander to let them know where you have moved the victim, stay with that victim until the next crew arrives and help remove them from that place and that point of egress that you have moved them to until that victim has been removed, and then return to your task of putting out the rest of the fire. Again, our incident priorities are life safety first, then incident stabilization, then property conservation. So continue to attack the fire, but we want to make sure to get our victims out. Another assignment that is given out on every residential fire is life search, aka search. The assignment is usually given out right after fire attack on fires and does not need to wait for fire attack to enter the structure if the location where they are entering is tenable and not in immediate danger to fire spread. Search also works the opposite for fire attack, as they start from the area at most risk and move to the area of least risk. This is an attempt to find those that are the greatest risk for loss of life and get them out to an area where they have a greater chance of survival, or to get them to the hospital faster if needed. Search is an assignment where we risk a lot to save a life, or in other words, we risk lives to save lives. This means that this assignment can enter the structure without protection of a hose line if the situation calls for it, but crews also need to remember our safety comes first, especially if the area where the victim is can be found much of the time, like a bedroom, bathroom, near or exit entryways like doors or windows are already compromised by fire. We risk nothing for lives or property already lost. If this group finds a victim, they must report that they have found a victim and where they are taking the victim to. This is so medical crews that are on the outside can meet that search crew and take over care of that victim. This also allows the search group to return into the structure faster and continue to conduct a search to find any more victims. Once the search is complete, whether victims are found or not, the officer member acting as the officer tells the IC that the primary is all clear and they exit the structure. Secondary search is done after any primary search was conducted. This is to double check the structure for any bodies or for fire that may have been missed by the initial crews. Primary search is done quickly, as they are looking for any viable victims in the most probable spaces in the shortest amount of time. Secondary is a different animal altogether. It is done methodically, meticulously, and purposely. Since there is no immediate threat of fire spread to victims as the fire should have been extinguished, this group can go through each room with a fine-toothed comb. If there is a lot of debris in the room, the crew should be asking for support from the IC, so that no matter what, each room is thoroughly searched. You don't want to be the one that's assigned to secondary when the ceiling has fallen in, there's insulation and drywall all over the floor, and you report to your captain that the room is cleared, just to be told hours later, after your crew has already left the scene, by the investigators that are on scene that they found a body in the same room you had just checked. This happened to me. I found out that I had walked over the body several times while searching the room, but I didn't move any of the debris on the floor. Once again, when the search is completed, the officer member acting as the officer reports that the secondary is clear and exit the structure. Be reasonable when searching through debris. If the roof and the ceiling is falling and there's large debris that is hard to move, you will not be effectively able to search that area. In my example where I missed the body, there was a lot of debris, but it was not unreasonable to take a shovel or to move the debris to find the body. So again, be reasonable when coming up with a plan and be reasonable when determining whether or not it will be effective or safe to perform a secondary live search. This assignment is new to the MVFD. Outside is something that has been used by CCFD with great effect, and as there are times where we have reduced manpower on calls, this assignment is one that could suit our department. An outside assignment can be accomplished by a single person that is responding on a rescue or squad that has some fire training so they know what to report to the IC. The 4 Bs are something that the person could report to the IC after completing a 360, which are basements, bodies, bombs, and barricades. This will help the IC understanding anything that could cause issues or present dangers to the crews operating on scene. Outside can also help with softening the structure by performing any forcible entry needs to provide other ways of egress for crews operating inside or ingress for crews going inside. They can also throw ladders to windows and balconies for crews working on any floor above the ground floor to again provide egress for them or any possible victims. While performing a 360, they can look for opportunities to secure utilities and report what utilities were shut off to the IC. Lastly, they can assist to perform ventilation, which frees up a company with more people for assignments such as RIT or salvage. The acronym that is used to remember what outside does is FLOV or FLOV. Crews operating on the inside appreciate all the love they can get by the crew operating outside, which is traditional fire department falls on the truck. Since we have not yet obtained a truck at the time of this presentation, the outside assignment is a great way to get those tasks done while leading larger companies for other assignments. A point of clarification in the 4 Bs. When we talk about bombs and barricades, bombs is anything that will blow up the scene or will cause significant problems. A pool or a large hole in a backyard could be considered significant or a bomb because if you step in it, it's going to blow up your scene because now you are down a firefighter. Barricades are anything that is a fence or gate that is restricting access. It does not have to be an actual barricade. A chain link fence can still serve as a barricade. FLOV again stands for forcible entry, ladders, utilities, and ventilation. The last few assignments on residential fires can vary depending on the crews and the fire needs. RIT should be established when our first alarm assignments. The dispatch model for MVFD for an F3H, which is a high-level building fire, is 3 engines, 1 squad, tender 72 and 74, 1 rescue, and MOAPA 1. This means that RIT must be established to either one of the engines, tenders, or squads if they have at least 2 people on them. Fire, medical, or rehab are best filled by the rescue that is responding on the first alarm. The IC could also use the squad responding to fill either role, but consider adding a second rescue for one of those assignments during the hot months. Salvage is an assignment that is often neglected, as most fires we respond to within our valley are a total loss, but there's a possibility of preserving some of the residents' belongings. We should make every effort to do so. Water supply, forgive the pun, is a fluid assignment. It can be handled by any unit responding on the first alarm. A rescue, if responding first, is a great resource to park by a hydrant so that when the first arriving engine company arrives, they can more easily spot where the hydrant is. This will allow also for them to drop their hose and keep their crew intact if the crew on the rescue is trained and can catch a hydrant. And their lady arriving unit can also be utilized in the same manner. One thing to note when it comes to talking about RIT and if it is assigning it to a squad or rescue. A full RIT company is comprised of 4 people. An IRIT or initial RIT is comprised of 2 people. That is not a full formal RIT, but it is still something that we can operate in until we can establish a full formal RIT. You can use 3 people as a RIT team, but what's considered a full formal RIT team is 4 people in a company. As we said before, there are several other assignments that can be made on the fire ground if you are in an offensive strategy, but the assignments that we have covered are what you could generally expect. Moving on to the other side of the same coin is when we believe that the fire has grown so large that there is no way we can perform interior operations, or we do not have enough people to go inside, we can declare a defensive strategy. When you think defensive, you can think of the 3 Ds of defense, which are divisionalize, duration, and defend. A sports reference is to think of a defensive strategy much like a zone defense. The goal is to cover as much as possible and to control what is in your zone while trying to keep everything contained. On the fire ground, we can do this by assigning divisions. Each side of the house is designated by Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, or Delta side. The IC can assign to a company to that same division. For reference, if Engine 73 was assigned to the Alpha side of the structure, that officer and their crew would now be assigned as Alpha Division and keep the fire that is on that side contained in the structure and prevent it from spreading to any exposures. Duration means that units will not only be on scene for a while, but each hose line is going to take longer to set up and move. The IC should anticipate this and understand that time is your friend when setting up for defensive operations, because once the water is flowing, they will get a lot of it, but it's also working against you as the fire grows. If there's a specific task the IC wants done, but doesn't want to create a group or division, they can have a unit retain their call sign and have them perform that specific task. Examples of this may be useful is while in the defensive position, the IC wants the residents checked on or wants the utility secured. They don't need to create an entire group for that task, so they can assign it to a single company and call them their unit name. The last part to cover with the defensive fire comes from the driver operator position. This position must have on the front of their minds, if I have a lot of fire, I will need a lot of water, or I will tap out my supply. That's exactly what should be done to the hydrant on these fires so that we do not tap out our supply and create an unsafe situation for fire spread. This means that whoever is assigned a water supply use all 3 outlets on the hydrant by placing gate valves or Y on the 2.5 outlets and utilize any 5-inch Y or adapters to get the most water out of that hydrant. Every person on that fire needs to think GPM, not PSI. It's not pressure that puts out fires, it's volume. If there's a large volume of fire, we need a large volume of water to put it out. The last D that I did not mention on this slide, when you think defensive operations, or you can think of master streams or deck guns is what they are also called. So the last D, if you want to add a little asterisk to the end of this, is divisions, durations, defend, and deck guns is another part of defensive operations. Though deck guns can be used in offensive operations, they are primarily used for defensive operations. There are fire calls where you have more people than you know what to do with, but most often we run into just enough people to make it work. This means that if you don't have enough people to operate safely inside of a structure, you shouldn't be going in. The IC or first arriving unit can go defensive first to keep the fire in check and then transition to offensive as more units arrive. As the IC or first arriving unit, make sure that you are getting personnel accountability reports or PARs from all other incoming units so you make a good strategic decision. One side note on PARs. Make sure that whenever you do give your PAR, you also say the level of the responders, such as if you're responding on Engine 74 with 2 firefighters and a first responder. If one of those firefighters is an exterior firefighter, you will need to say that over the air so the IC will know what resources they have coming and assign them appropriately. When giving your PAR, make sure to say Engine 74 is responding with 2 firefighters, 1 interior and 1 exterior, and 1 first responder. As long as you get the information across to the IC, it doesn't matter how you say it, just make sure that you do. The first units will also need to prioritize what is needed the most. Do I need a water supply? Help on the other side of the home? Searching for possible victims? Your crew size has a huge influence on this, so be aware that you will be limited to what your company can do until help arrives. The Moab Valley Fire District can also ask for mutual aid from our surrounding departments. If you ask for an engine company from Las Vegas, you know you will be getting a 4-person company with a captain, an engineer, and 2 firefighters. This is true for any engine or truck resource coming from Clark County, North Las Vegas, or Las Vegas Fire and Rescue. Mesquite could respond with a 3 or 4-person engine depending on staffing. Just know that if you don't think you'll have enough personnel to fight the fire, those resources are available to use at any time. With every map there is a key, and our playbook is a map to find the best possible outcomes for our structure fires. Each person may take their own trail while following the map, but if they use the key, they won't get lost. Our key is comprised of points to remember as we open our playbook and start calling our plays. If we can plan en route with our crew when given a specific assignment, or as a first arriving officer, and have the first 4 assignments mapped out in our head, it will set us up for success for the incident. We also need to remember our incident priorities in LIP and in our risk management ladder of risking a lot, risking a little, or risking nothing. Each person has a role in the fireground, and each role has a task. Know and understand not only your role, but the task of the role you are given. Each role counts and contributes to the overall operation. One of the most critical parts of any fire is clear communication and clarification. This is one reason we use the order model when communicating to each other. That way we know who we are talking to, who is talking to us, and what is expected of the person that is being given direction. Communication is the simplest thing to do, but is one of the hardest things to master in the fire service. Residential fires are not a call that we experience frequently, so we can lose our edge when it comes time to respond. Any good team knows that it takes good preparation, planning, practice, and a good playbook to perform at a high level. This presentation was designed to lay out a playbook for the Mohawk Valley Fire District on ways to manage and mitigate residential fires. As each firefighter continues to respond, train, and prepare for these calls, they will grow in their knowledge and skills to the point where it becomes second nature and things will slow down. Using this playbook is the first step in developing your own personal playbook on how not only to prepare for the next structure fire, but to respond to all calls that require a lot of resources to manage. We'll now review some videos on assignments that were made and how the firefighters accomplished the tasks that were expected. You can either watch the video in its entirety or skip through and talk about the key points. In this first video, the firefighters responded to a two-story apartment building with several units. They were assigned to investigations as there was no obvious signs of fire upon arrival, except for some smoke from apartment 117. While investigating the original unit, the firefighter found nothing, but as they continued to search, they found fire on the void space above them in the next unit and proceeded to put out the fire and then continued to check for extension. Again, you can skip through parts of this video to get to the key points. If you, as officers, want to work on reading smoke or what to look for or what that firefighter is going through and talk about the steps, feel free to skip through each video intermittently. This first video, for probably about the first 6 to 9 minutes, is where most of the information is, I believe. The rest of it's just firefighter walking around, pulling ceiling, looking for other assignments. So enjoy this first video and take what piece of information you need to get out of it to hone yourself as a firefighter and work on your skills of what it is to investigate and how to perform each role and task.
Might make things up. And then we can have 23
still throwing.
I don't know if you can your crew to
It's gotta be something, obviously above. What's up? It's gotta be something up above. It's coming out of the park fence.
keep opening your door.
Yep, I got you.
I got you.
You need to grab the hook? Not yet.
It's just showing hot up there. It's not really crazy hot. It's probably just a little smoldering fire.
Now let's get a hook. Get a hook so I can get back to work.
And we do have water smoke in Division 1. Right now, but fire. It's lying on the ground. Where these units report on evacuation. I mean, that'd be advised to do that smoke. Yeah. The roof here, that's about 20.
I'm having James grab grab me a hook.
What? You getting hot spots?
I know, I'm having James grab me a hook. I'm gonna pop. You got your tools? Yeah, they're right there. Right here, Cap! I got fire right here. I need that line. I'm gonna grab that hook.
There we go.
James, let me get in front of you. Yeah. Let me clear it really quick. It's gonna be right here. Right here.
Alright.
Let me go out here. is all still black. It's all still black this way.
What's up? There's no one in there. Go ahead. Yeah, there's no one in your cap. Primary's all clear.
Okay, it's starting to get clean this way.
Yeah. The main hotspot's like right above us.
What's up? Yeah.
Yeah, from troubleshoot. Go ahead. Coming out of the gable vents on the alpha side. About a 3.5-foot parapet. It looks okay to get on the top if you want to.
I think it goes in the next apartment.
What's up? There's a wall right there, yeah?
Yeah, oh no, I don't see a wall.
You want to open up the next one? Go ahead.
What's up, Cap?
Let's go to the other side. You want to open up the next door?
Go for it. It's open. It's clear. It's coming out of the AC vent now in that wall though. I think it's in the wall.
This fire is one that we could likely respond to in our valley. It's a single wide trailer in a trailer park. The firefighters are going in knowing that they'll be the first unit and immediately get to work accomplishing the tasks of fire attack. This video is only about 2 minutes long. You have to forgive the very last 8 to 10 seconds. The camera starts to scream as the battery was low, but is a good example of how quickly you can move when you're performing fire attack and what the expectations are. Also, the first 30 to 40 seconds is pure darkness because the camera was facing down as a firefighter was putting on their mask.
You want to pull line, Brady? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Brady's coming. Yeah.
I'm gonna work on the door. I got glow inside, Brady.
This video is an example of a true defensive fire. The first minute or two is the engine driving around because we were dispatched to the incorrect location, and we finally found the fire much later on. So you'll have to skip through the very first parts of this video. It's not edited, so it's not just going to be click and you can watch the important parts. You'll have to skip through. I believe it's going to be the first couple minutes until we actually get to where we get out of the engine and start pulling lines for a defensive stop. So again, a defense, I think defense as a wall that we're going to hold our line in the sand, and offense as attack is we're going to aggressively move forward. This is an example of the adult acronym of a uncompartmented or large area fire. So enjoy watching a true defensive fire. Again, you do not need to watch this till the end. This is about a 13.5 to 14-minute video. Only about the first 3 to 5 minutes has the information that's really needed. But you can watch the full 15 minutes if you would like.
They got
Yep, we're at the bus fire.
Get that TRT on the ground.
Yep.
Probably what that is. I'm just coming up that way. Yeah, we got unit. This is command. The wind is very to the west. Heavy exposures. We're trying to locate what street this is. Speaker currently was the wrong address. Come in, Rescue 23 Johnson.
Okay.
Rescue 23.
Alright, I got it.
Quick recon. Let me know what street this is that we're on. Units be advised. Multiple address for Southwest Trucking is 4610 Vandenberg Drive, 4610 Vandenberg.
Yeah.
Copy that. So we're going to need units on the south side of Vandenberg as well. We got exposures to the west. We're going to need an exposure division. Engine 50's arrived. We come up eager from the south. So we're on the southwest side of this. Battalion 5, command. Go ahead for Battalion 5. Are you on scene yet? That's a negative. I'm pulling up right now. I'm just trying to find the best access point. Command from Engine 50 Bird, northeast on Eaker. We're attempting to find a back road into that lot. Copy that. We will have you be North Division. We will divisionalize this fire. We are currently on West Division. Engine 57, copy. Command for Battalion 5, I'm on scene. What's your location right now?
Just making sure that.
Command, we are with the truck. We are on the west side of this fire. We're using deck guns and the TRT and Master Street trying to knock down the road of this fire.
I don't know, dude.
Battalion 5 copies. I'll go ahead and assume command. I'm going to come and meet face to face with you. Though. Looks like we're going to need some more resources on this.
Okay, water's coming.
Go ahead and add a truck and 2 more engines. Okay, Battalion 5 is now in command, requesting 1 truck, 2 additional from engine 50. We're on the south fire. We have engine 50 from command. Your transmission was broken. Could you repeat? Command engine 50, we're on the southwest side of this fire. We have our own hydrant. We're going to put up our master stream and start hitting it from this side. Command copies. Engine 23, I'm going to go ahead and name you West Division. You're on the west side, correct? Command engine 108 on scene. To the south, we have a hydrant. Command copies. Engine 108. Why don't you go ahead and stand by that hydrant? I'm still trying to find good access to engine 23 here. Sub 52 loaded. Sub 52 is you ready for water up there? Commander, 50's on scene. Go for water. Command copies, 50's on scene. Command, truck 54 has arrived on scene. We've entered from the southwest. We're right next to 108. Command copies, truck 54. Stand by 1 second. I'm going to get a grip on where we're playing. Command, engine 108.
Right here.
Truck 52, you guys
On this one? What? Trying to figure out where we're at, Cap. Give me a second.
We're coming. Engine 23, are you up there with truck 52 right now?
That's affirmative.
So, I've got engine 23, truck 52, engine 50, on West Division, is that correct?
That's correct.
And copies, then engine 57, you're on the north end of the property, is that correct?
Command from engine 57, we're on the north side right behind.
And copies, are you able to make your way to have a different access where you're at?
Hey, we want to try cut this gate going around. I don't know if we have access. So we can hit it from the north door.
We have one of those units.
We could try. Let's see. I mean, where Cap was. He walked that way.
Right behind engine 23. We backed up, and we can access the gate from the north side. Okay, copy. I'm going to name you North Division. Go ahead and take that asset. Truck 54 from command. Once you come up next to engine 50, I'm going to have you take a stick up and hit it from the side. You'll be assigned to West Division.
Come up.
23.
57 can come.
Truck 54 copy. Come up to engine 50, set the stick up, we'll be west division, assigned to West Division.
Yeah, we'll cut it for him.
Yep.
Command battalion 15 is arrest.
Again, we're gonna grab the K-12.
Command copies, engine 108 from command, he's still near the hydrant. Command from engine 108, that's perfect.
Yeah. Grab the K-12. Go cut the lock.
Engine 108, what kind of access do you have? You're on the south side of this, correct? That's affirmative.
Hey, grab that line. Just have it ready. I'll tell you guys to start attacking this way.
Command copies. I'm going to go ahead and name you South Division. See if you can make some access. There is a lot over here. Maybe you could force entry and make access. Bring your own water supply in there.
Yes.
It's a project. Left unit for being traffic. Engine 20. Command copy, engine 20, what's your location right now? We're putting that off-road speed there. Engine 20, can you repeat your traffic? We'll pull on the east side on the speed. Command copy, so I'm going to go ahead and name you East Division.
I don't know. Brady, can you grab a nozzle?
No, not yet. Oh, yeah, I'm grabbing.
Thank you.
Battalion 15's arrived. We're actually clear deep traffic.
We'll take that in the TRT down there, okay?
Command Battalion 15 has arrived. Command copies Battalion 15. You can come on up. I'm just south of 54 on the west side.
We're gonna have both.
Battalion 15 for command. Battalion 15 5. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and make your way around to the east side, actually, see if you can help out Engine 20, look for different ways of gaining access. Battalion 15 copies. Make my way to the east side. It's just
I'm good. I just need to.
This last video is a firefighter that is on a rescue when responding to an apartment fire. There is no specific task given to the rescue on this call, so you will see this firefighter going around checking on people, checking for the victims of the apartment that was on fire, and doing other tasks in between. Though it may seem that this firefighter is freelancing, they're not doing anything outside of their scope or anything that is going to hinder the operation. The first point is that they help pull 5-inch, then they go somewhere else, but they're not just freely breaking down doors or disturbing the fire scene or fire ground or doing whatever they want to do to think were they making a difference. They're doing things that would be specific for a rescue to do, such as checking on victims, checking on people on the fire ground, assisting the engine in their operations because they've lost the operation. Finding a place to work until given a specific assignment by the IC can be something you do. Just remember that you need to have your ears turned up, so when you hear that radio, or you need to listen to hear that radio, so when the IC is trying to give you an assignment, you can immediately divert and go to the assignment that the IC is giving you. So enjoy this video. Again, it's probably about 12 or so minutes long. You don't need to watch all of it. The first 6 minutes, I think, has, and you can skip that first 6 minutes in between and see the incoming issues.
Rescue 23. Rescue 23, you can please hook up water supply. That's a bird. I just hooked up. I'm ready to hit the engine water.
Boulevard Command Fire Dispatch. There is enough of the call, most recent call. We have a PR that called in with the resident victim.
Copy, you know where they're at?
Let me try to land on them and get further. I do have the number of the note to life.
Man, truck 61's arrived with rescue 61 attached.
Are you guys okay?
Copy that. Just keep truck 61, your ventilation.
Are you guys okay? No, you're fine. Are you guys okay?
Rescue 61 or too many
Just checking on everybody. Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just trying to make sure and check on everybody.
Copy that. Fire attack, can you give me a primary?
What's up, Spencer? Yeah, they've already got it fire out.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, it was contained to a single unit.
Hey, did you find the jumpers?
No, I still haven't found them
I
yet.
didn't realize you guys had knockdown.
Dispatch from Boulevard Command.
Yeah, they got knocked down.
Boulevard Command, go ahead.
Dispatch room with case the victims.
That's negative. The phone was straight to voicemail.
Dispatch command, do we know if the if that was in this complex or this complex or any information?
I don't have any information on that. We did landline them. We're trying to get further from the call seeker. Stand by.
Do you know who lives in this one? Do you know who lives in this one?
That one,
Over here? This one?
Water.
Were you the one? Who jumped out of the... You both jumped out? Okay, come with me really quick. We want to get you guys checked out really quick, okay? Come with me. Okay.
Yeah, we got knocked down on a fire. Catching a fire line first.
Right here with me. Command from Rescue 23. Command Rescue 23, we found both jumpers. These are the two that jumped out the window. Can you guys assess them, please?
It looks like you're giving them off to
That's affirmative, command.
command evacuation. Engine 20 good. Alright. Command engine 20. We've got all the immediate apartments evacuated.
Was there anybody else in that apartment that came over here?
No.
Just those two?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, are you guys all okay? Okay.
And they said somebody lives in that 221, but I don't know if somebody's in there.
Okay.
Nobody came out of that one.
Well, we're going to check all the adjacent buildings, so.
Okay, good.
Copy that primary. Copy. Ventilation copy. Stand front door.
Dispatch message from your office.
I got both jumpers to hand them off to Medic West.
oh, cool, perfect.
So,
Cool, I'm just digging around.
alright, well,
Hi, guys.
I don't even have my suspenders on, so.
Yeah, I pulled out and I just pulled my pants off.
It's the next one.
Looks like it. It's heavy. He's gonna put a hole through that wall. That's his plan.
They're going to put a hole through what wall? Oh, that wall. I'm like, what?
Because the landing doesn't go past.
Did they check 221? Because they said someone lives in there.
I'll bid 20 this round and I'll just keep bouncing back and forth.
Or at least that's what the neighbors said. Go ahead.
Rescue 23, are they occupants of the affected unit?
The patients we brought out were occupants of the involved unit. We haven't found any other patients at this time.
Command copy. Battalion 3 from command. Do you want them to stay on scene? Do you want to investigate her? Revelation from command. Do we have a unit number on this? Command for ventilation. That's 220. Command copy. Battalion 3 from command. Do you want them occupants to stay on scene, or do you even want investigator to respond to this?
Yeah, let's talk to Engine 23 first and let him make that determination based on, you know, what he learns from either his interviews or just the fire scene.
Command copy.
Dude, I didn't put my camera in the right spot, so I couldn't wedge my finger under there. So I had to freaking turn it super hard. It's on.
We can always track him down if necessary.
Yeah, here's my
Command copy.
suspenders. Oh, I don't care, but my pants are going to stay up either way because I'm not going in the involved building.
Rescue 20 from command. From Rescue 20. Rescue 20, you're released. Yeah.
Dude, 61 jumped on this. No, a rescue added themselves.
That's all we always did. Just because the truck. But Chief was freaking like,
Sounds like our two
even though that's our protocol.
victims don't want to go. They talked to Medic West. It doesn't look like they have any injuries or complaints. I'm going to cut this Medic West unit loose unless you want them to stay.
What's that? No, I don't. I think he's cutting the second one loose.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looks like that one right now. They're both going to go AMA.
Command the red. Command red. We've secured electrical. We're trying to find the gas this time. Command copy.
Ventilation complete. Do you have another assignment for us?
That's the biggest one with fire attack.
I guarantee you, Brady did not turn on his camera.
You better have. I'm going to slap him. No, I'm going to take it away. Yeah, do it.
Well, I got to carry it around like I was going to use it.
Yeah, dude, I was about to turn out to go with you, and then I looked, and I was like, that should probably help with the water because I didn't know how far away everyone else was.
Well, by the time I got turned out to go up with them, they were already all the way up there, and I went. So I stayed back and helped. And that's why I don't go to bed before 10.
Yeah, dude, when you guys got called out, I was like, I'm not going to bed. I started yelling. Morning, you hear me? Dude, I can't sleep. I was so like, I'm getting dressed, I'm running down the hallway. I was like, by the time we got to the printer, dude, I was like, damn, dude, you're already gone. I saw the phone. I didn't even look it up because I just saw aviator swinging. Put it back. I was like, let's go.
Ventilation, truck 61 from command, release was in.
Truck 51, copy. Command, we've got an occupant in Unit 123. That's asking if his power's been shut off. He's in an oxygen unit that he needs power to.
See, Rush?
And that is it for the Moapa Valley Fire residential playbook. I appreciate you making it to this point. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions or comments and would like anything added or changed or have suggestions, please feel free to reach out to me via my email that is within our directory, or you can reach me by cell phone via text message or phone call. Thank you again. I hope you all have a fantastic day, month, year, and stay safe until the next time we meet.